Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Good.
That's good. Did you get a link?
No, and we're recording now.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully people will come through on the attendees.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good.
Thanks, Paul.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello, Sarah and Sarah.
Sarah and Sarah.
I'm just letting my dog out really quick. Excuse me.
Good time.
I just did that and then they wouldn't come in.
Hi, David.
Hi, David.
Hello.
It looks like
Good
Sue's
evening.
ready to log in.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. So I'll call the meeting of the Southborough Youth Commission to order on February 8th, 2022 at 7:02 p.m. So first on the agenda is we have two sets of minutes to review and approve. We have the January 11th minutes of the meeting. Were there any edits or comments on that?
Look good to me.
All right. And then, is there a motion to approve do I need to do each minute separately? Probably. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 11th, 2022 board meeting.
Second.
Okay, Susan Byer,
Yes, here.
Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombucker,
Hi.
David Joyner,
Aye.
and Sarah Micas,
Aye.
Lauren Ritchie, aye. And then we had minutes for the joint meeting with the capital planning committee. And that was for January. Oops, I lost it. There we go. January 20th, 2022. Were there any edits to that those minutes?
Can I just say, Marguerite just texted me. She's asking if somebody can let her in.
Oh. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Here we go.
Thank you, Beth.
Hello, sorry about that. I didn't see it.
No, I was a little late getting on. I couldn't find the email, so I had to go through the town.
That's what we all did.
Mhm.
So we're just talking about the minutes for the joint meeting with the Capital Planning Committee on January 20th, if there were any edits for that.
Right. I have nothing.
I make a motion to approve the minutes with the capital building committee from January 20th, 2022.
Second. David should get that.
All right. Susan Byer,
Aye.
Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Domberger,
Hi.
David Joyner,
Aye.
Marguerite Landry,
I
Sarah Micas.
I'm going to abstain because I was not present.
All right, and Lauren Ritchie, aye. So then that brings us to the highlights of the director's report, Sarah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello. Okay, firstly, you'll probably notice that the highlights look a little different. And maybe notice that some of the other information is different. So at the start of the new year, we kind of evaluate what data we're collecting and how. And so I made some adjustments to try to make writing this director's report a little bit easier. So hopefully you're okay with how it looks, because it was definitely a lot easier for me to write it.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yes.
So what? Here to read also.
I'm sorry. Did you say something, Beth?
Oh, I said it was a lot easier to read also.
Oh, good.
The way
Oh,
it's
good. A
written.
win-win. That's a win-win. Great. So that's the monthly highlights are different. The statistics that we're collecting are slightly different. So we no longer have transfer station sticker fee waivers on here. We're not doing Smiling Kids anymore, for example. So while you're looking through the statistics, you'll notice that those are slightly different. With regard to mental health support services, we are collecting, generally speaking, how many people inquired about who are new to us, mental health support requests of any kind, regardless of what the outcomes are. How many people we actually saw for counseling services. Of the people that called us, how many of them were referred to Interface? And then how many participated in our substance use diversion program or a therapeutic group. And then lastly, with prevention programs, this was a little harder to figure out how to collect the data, but generally we're trying to identify how many programs we're offering for adults, and how many participants we have in those programs, and then the same thing for youth. And also collecting outreach information. The other thing that's not listed on here is demographic information. You'll probably recall that in our strategic plan, one of our primary goals is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in order for us, we're not quite addressing that goal quite yet, because our very first two goals feel very foundational to build off of before we do anything more. But in order for us to know if we're meeting our goal of increasing equity and access to our services and doing the appropriate type of outreach to reach residents of different sectors of the community, we need some baseline data about who's accessing our services and how. So I don't have data for you yet because we just started collecting this, but we're asking people about how they heard from us. We're collecting, we did this anyway, but ages, genders, whether somebody identifies as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, race, ethnicity, languages spoken at home. So all of that is important baseline information for us to really be able to better capture if our outreach efforts are paying off, and whether we're able to meet that goal when we start working on it. The other thing I did for the director's report this month was I updated the program and service definitions. So I know that you guys often don't look at that because it's the same every month, but this month it's different. So again, it reflects what we try to collect in our statistics. So we don't have transfer station sticker fee waivers on there anymore because we're not doing that, for example. And I just try to outline here for you guys what the service is. And, you know, we might say we're working with 8 people for counseling, which may not look like a lot, but then when you look at what that entails for each individual, it's quite a bit of work. So I think it's helpful to kind of break down for people what each of those services look like a little bit more in detail. Generally speaking, everything else is the same in terms of how it's reported on. And I would say for January, I think as I mentioned to you all in our last meeting that we moved a lot of our services online in response to the rising number of COVID cases. So that was a little challenging for some people because everybody understood. We had no pushback on that, which was great. But for a couple of people, we had to pause what we were doing. Fortunately, the second 2 weeks of January, we were able to welcome back into the office anyone we had safety concerns about to make sure that we could fully assess how they were doing by seeing them in person. And now, as of February, we are all back in the office and seeing everybody in person, if that's what they choose. So things were a little bit slower in January for that reason, because we had to shift gears. Christina was wrapping up the Winter Wishes program and is in full gear with the Camp Scholarship program, which sounds crazy. But everything had to go out. I think we talked about this last time, that because recreation, which is one of the primary places that we're referring families to, their registration started on February 1st. And I'll share with you that by 10 o'clock that morning, they had a wait list. It was really a feverish pace. Everybody was trying to get registered for their camp. So it was important that we moved quickly and early with that. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Despite the pandemic and the ebbs and flows of what's happening, Shannon has been very busy with prevention programs. She moved her QPR suicide prevention trainings online, which continue to have a fantastic following. She had one that was on a Saturday, another one that was on a Wednesday. She's preparing for National Day of Unplugging and doing a really, this is ironic, but working on a social media campaign with various people around town to share information about how they unplug and why they unplug, and hopefully will inspire people to do so when the time comes. Let's see, what else? she's working on rolling out Listen with Love, which again is a communication workshop that we're very excited about. And we're doing a lot with substance abuse prevention right now, which is very exciting. I am happy to share, I think I've mentioned this a few times and hopefully it rings a bell. So Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission applied for a grant to the Southborough Community Fund to work with a substance abuse prevention consultant, because our coalition has been sort of struggling along for quite some time. A lot of passion behind it, a lot of very interested folks, but a lot of very busy people involved with not enough bandwidth to take it on completely. So at any rate, we wanted to work with this very renowned substance abuse prevention consultant. So the community fund put forth $7,000 for us to do that work. The total amount for the project was $14,000. So we've been working with our Northborough Coalition members to try to identify the other half for us to move forward. So we're happy to share that we only learned just last week that Northborough has secured the other half of the funds. So Southborough's contributing $7,000 and Northborough's contributing $7,000. And we had our first meeting with the consultant yesterday. So we're very excited about that. And I'm sure we're going to have more information to share with you on that work very soon. I think that is what I would want to highlight for right now. I don't know if there are any questions on what's in there.
If there's no questions, I think we could go on to the budget.
Sounds great, Sarah, so.
Thank you. Excuse me 1 second. I'm just going to ask my son to let my dog back in. The poor thing, I just remembered he's outside. Hold on.
Sure.
Okay. Given that it's budget season, I think that this item is on the agenda just to continue to have it as part of our discussion, though I don't have any updates to give right now. So the last we talked about the budget, we were considering whether we wanted to trim anything off of mileage expenses. And I think the consensus was that we didn't want to diminish our capacity in any way, knowing, that things are somewhat unpredictable with COVID, but because they're unpredictable with COVID, we wanted to be able to respond how we best can. So I don't have any updates since then. And I'm not sure what kind of, he needs my help letting the dog in. I'm very sorry. Hold on one second. Excuse me 1 second.
Lauren, did we vote on supporting this budget as it was during our last meeting? I believe we did, right?
I'm not sure that we voted with those words. I think we were voting to keep yes, we voted to keep that specific part in place.
Right, we voted to support it as it was presented, right?
Yes.
We didn't want to alter anything. Okay, so I guess we're still in the same place now, right?
I think so.
We support it the way it is, Sarah. We don't want to make any changes in it.
Right. And that's what I communicated.
Good.
Good.
Yeah. So I don't have any news. So I guess that's the update.
I have just one comment about the budget line items, not necessarily the request or anything for this year, but I do think that they don't necessarily explain what they are for. And I don't know.
I can update you on that.
Oh, good.
We are changing the names of So we're going to have a software line item for next year. So the therapy notes and the telelanguage funding is going to be under software. And then the other, we're changing recreational programs is no longer going to be called that. It's going to be, Dylan, quiet down. I'm sorry, I'm solo parenting right now. I apologize. The recreational programming is going to be called program supplies, or recreational supplies is changing to program supplies. So it's a more general description. In talking to the town accountant, we're limited in what titles we can use for different line items. So I kind of described to her what those different, how we've used those different buckets of money, so to speak, and she helped me to identify something that would work better.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that was a good question, Sarah, because I know the recreational one sounded like party hats or something.
It
was just
did, yeah.
not right.
Okay, thanks for that. Do we have, we have a few items under the Friends report. I don't know if Sue, did you want to say anything about Friends or?
I can. We have a meeting again tomorrow night and a meeting with Rotary very early in the morning. Thank God it's a Zoom call. It's very early in the morning. We changed the date to the day before Mother's Day during the day. And that usually or traditionally, and Sarah might have more to say on this too, because I think you talked to Leslie as well today. There's usually a plant sale there that day, and the garden center or the garden club people can't do it for some reason. So we have now taken that spot at the community house. And then we have a friends meeting tomorrow night. And I don't know what else did Leslie tell you, Sarah?
Yeah, just for clarification, the date that you're mentioning is a fundraising event that Friends is doing.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. So the Friends group is really kind of single focusing on raising money for camp scholarships now, because we're very appreciative of the support we had received from the Southborough Community Fund for years to help fund that program. But they had made it clear to us over the course of time that while they really loved the program and supported it, that they couldn't continue to be the sole funding source for that. So we did not apply for a grant for that this year. And so now the Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission is fundraising to support that program. And so this, I believe it's called Shop with a Purpose, Sue, is that right?
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
I think it'll be a good day. I'm sorry. I think it will be a good day. And Marguerite had mentioned, and a couple of other people, that we wouldn't get as big a turnout in the evening. So maybe the day before Mother's Day will be a great day.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that-
Sue
that's
and I
it.
were able to, we're very much honored to go to the Boy Scout meeting of Troop, was it 92?
Mhm.
It meets at St. Anne's Church, and they presented Southborough, or Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission with a donation that they had made with one of their events that they had. So that was it was great to go to their meeting and see what a great group of kids they were. And Sue, do you have anything to add to that?
No, they talked about camping a lot, things that I don't necessarily like doing, but they were a great group of kids.
They were.
And this money was raised at that event where the shopping event that they do around the holidays, where the kids can go in with somebody, one of the troop members, and buy things for family members, small gifts. I forget what they call that, the event, but
Right, I
it's
can't remember the name of it either, but
it's been
they
happening
do,
for years, so.
makes a small, actually, it was a very substantial profit that they were able to pass on every year to, for a donation. So we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, it was around a little over 1,600 that they had donated to Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission. Yeah.
It's really great.
It's awesome.
All right, let's go down to other business, and we had a request for, or actually the town sent out a request for all of the committees and boards to, if they had a request for ARPA funds, to present it. So where do we stand with that? We were going to do that in conjunction with the Southborough Youth and Family Services.
Yes. So yes, every town department received an email letting us know that an ARPA committee has formed. So this is a group of individuals who's been designated to oversee the use of ARPA funds. And so the town received $3.1 million and now has the tasks of deciding how to spend those funds. And so they're
Sarah, I'm sorry, what does ARPA stand for?
the American Rescue Plan Act.
Thank you.
Yep. Much easier to say ARPA. But understandably needs some clarification.
We've been rescued so many times
I
in the
know.
last 2 years. Every time you turn around, you're getting rescued again.
You know what? So the Southborough has received I think I'm getting that number right, $3.1 million. And they have a committee now formed. They also have a consultant that they're working with to identify and approve expenses. And I'm sure they're fielding suggestions and information from all over the place, not just town departments, but also hearing from residents. And so I did have an opportunity to talk with our staff. We had actually been asked quite a while ago, before the town had even received any funds, what we might use ARPA funds for. And I had submitted a lengthy list to town administration. Looking back at that list now, I'm happy to report that several of the items have been addressed since then, which is great. So the things that sort of remained, they did ask that if we're submitting any ideas or requests that we limit it to 4. So I'm bringing forward for our meeting today some ideas that were generated from our office. It's a little hard to come up with ideas because it's hard to picture how this would work in the department, but in terms of areas that we could use some help, one item that was on our list then and is still on our list is more help with the mental health services. Some of the other communities we know of are hiring a part-time clinician or a fee for service or per diem clinician on sort of a contractual basis. That's certainly an area that we could always use help with, is just the number of people who were asking us for help and our ability to help all of them. Software continues to be a challenge. This is one of the areas where we don't have funds identified, but we also haven't identified a product yet that suits our needs completely. We've fortunately taken on a few things that have helped us out in terms of being more efficient, but we still have a couple of outstanding IT needs that once we identify a product that we could use, we don't have the funding for those. I know a couple of other communities. I'm very friendly and communicative with neighboring youth and family service departments. And I know several others are using ARPA funds to pay for interface referral services. I know that we've sort of mapped out a plan for 2022 all the way up through June 30th of 2023. These funds are, from my understanding, available over the course of the next, I think, 5 years, or we have about 5 years to spend it, maybe a little less now. So I did write down a FY24 interface contract could be covered by ARPA, perhaps. Excuse me. And given what I mentioned earlier about doing outreach, marketing materials is something that we have a very small printing line item. So we really don't have much wiggle room or even any, we don't have the luxury of you know, doing more than your really standard printing costs and things like that. So when we did those outreach bags, that was really exciting for us because it was something out of the ordinary and was something that people could hold on to and not throw away. Some of these flyers that we give people, they don't stick around for that long. So, so that was another thought we had of how we could use these funds. But we are certainly, we would love to have board input on that before we have to let the committee know any requests that we have.
I think they all sound good. I know that the bags are like constant advertisement. That
I agree.
they're permanent. They're better than a flyer, as you said, because people use them all the time. So a couple $1,000s on things like that would be very well spent, I think.
Yeah, and I agree with perhaps enlisting the help of a per diem person or contractors, a great idea. I think your caseload is going to be burgeoning in the months, maybe years to come. My other thought after looking at the interface report was that a lot of people are looking for services for anxiety. And I don't know if there's any kind of outreach program we could perhaps, or prevention program. I don't know if you can prevent anxiety, but address it.
Let me know if you figure out.
I was gonna say, if you could let me know, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just really saw that as an opportunity for some kind of programming, because that seemed to be the majority of people looking for some kind of therapeutic help. So maybe if we could consider some kind of more group type thing and leverage the money, but I think that would be money well spent from these funds. So, and the software thing is key. We need to like figure this out, and whatever, I do think it's going to require finances above and beyond our budget and what Friends can provide. So this might be an opportunity to build a really strong IT system to support the department. So
I was just thinking to myself too, in addition to a clinician assisting with individual cases, the community seems to be very interested in and receptive to a lot of workshops and trainings right now. Specifically QPR, the Listen with Love workshop. We're also rolling out a parent support group in March, and we've had a couple of phone calls about that already, which is unusual. Normally people wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So I'm hoping that people, I'm not hoping people are at their wits' end and are desperate to do anything, but in some ways I'm hoping people will take advantage. We often offer things in the community and don't have anybody take us up on it. And I understand that, a community-based service. And so whoever you're sitting with in that group is somebody who's from your community, and that's hard. At the same time, it could be extremely beneficial to be sitting amongst other parents, knowing you're not alone, getting support, you know, and so we really hope that that will take off. But in terms of having another clinician and going back to ARPA, that's another area. There's always room for more group work, workshops, trainings. And so in addition to offering more individual work, we could utilize somebody for that as well. Cast a wider net, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think it's very appropriate to use the ARPA funds for mental health, since it, you know, it's the funds, the act is born out of the COVID need, and the mental health need is greater because of COVID. So I think it's completely appropriate to use it in that way. And as far as more programming, I was wondering if the Listen with Love could be adapted to, can you hear me? No.
It's just a
Can you
little
hear me?
delayed.
Yep.
Oh, and now I
Can you
think
hear
you've
me?
frozen though.
No. Am I frozen?
Oh,
You're
keep talking. We can hear you.
Okay.
It's either the video or the audio.
If a Listen with Love program could be adapted to high school, for the high school kids, that might be something to think about.
Writing all these thoughts down. I think that I would probably lump that into more trainings, workshops, group. And I think that to me says another clinician, because
Right.
the only reason why we're not already doing that is because we just don't have the bandwidth with the number of staff we have currently. So
What was the deadline for getting this in?
I think they want to hear from us by Valentine's Day. I think, if I remember the email. I know that I had enough time at least to talk with you all in the meeting and get information into them. I think it's the 13th or the 14th.
Sarah, what were some of the ones that you cut off the list?
Language interpretation services was on there. I'd have to go back.
Well, it doesn't
look.
matter. I was just wondering if there was anything that you cut off that we might convince you to put back on.
Everything I took off was stuff that's already, we've found funding for.
Okay.
Yep, so the substance abuse prevention consultant, for example,
Good.
was another thing that was on there.
Good.
Do you need any formal vote on that from us, or just input from us?
Yeah, I'm just looking for, I don't think a vote needs to happen. I think we're just generating ideas.
Yeah, you definitely have my support. I mean, you guys know better than anyone else what you need
Right.
during this time, so.
Sarah, do you know what other departments are competing for the funding? No, they don't.
A swimming
Is
pool.
a
No.
closed,
I'm just kidding.
is it a closed committee that, I don't know, can we?
I'm not sure. I'm sure they're going to be soliciting input from residents and,
Yeah, because I would,
but I'm not sure.
as Beth said, I think an appropriate use for these funds, obviously, is to address the hardship in the community, which is very prevalent, is the mental health issues that have stemmed from COVID, as well as, you know, unemployment, food insecurity, housing issues, and things like that. So I would hope that they wouldn't use it to build a new statue or something like that. But
Yes, we
code
need a
before
statute.
you're- Yeah.
I had written on my short list too. I'm not sure this can be addressed with ARPA funds because it's a much bigger project and one that's being worked on already, but I had written down affordable housing as another item that I'd love to support. There are not many options in town, and
No.
the number of people that we have worked with over the years who have just had to leave, you know, there seems to be sort of nothing.
There's only 4 houses on the market right now in Southborough.
And
So
they're all $1 million. Sarah,
Yeah.
have you worked, is it Shopsy who deals with affordable housing? Have you
Yes.
talked to them about maybe
Yes.
collaborating? Because you're seeing it firsthand, right?
Yeah, so they had recently they're working on developing affordable housing opportunities in Southborough. And they had a recent, it's actually one of the first things highlighted, actually maybe the first thing highlighted on the director's report. Early in January, they had a stakeholder meeting. And so I was invited to go to that, and they just had people from various sectors of the community contributing to the discussion on what people are seeing and talking about different space opportunities in town too. There's a number of different spaces. Each of them has pros and cons, you know. In fact, you know, I think it's okay for me to say this, but I know that our building that we're in, they're looking at as a potential site for development for affordable housing units.
That's the talk
And you
about, so-
start to wonder if maybe that wouldn't be a really good thing, because you've probably seen so many people who can't stay.
Yeah, again, I don't know that ARPA funds can be used for that, or if it would be appropriate, because the timeline, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into developing those plans, and I know they're working on it, and so, but that was just another thing that came to mind when I really kind of close my eyes and think about what's missing, like regardless of what's happening in our department and what, you know, what we need to be able to do our jobs as effectively and efficiently as possible. What else do I hear often that people are struggling with? And that's another one of the really big ones.
So Sarah, I don't want to monopolize, but is the ARPA money distributed by the selectmen?
It's a good question.
Sure.
So who-
I think, was somebody going to say something?
Make it as, there's a committee, isn't there a committee? formed
yeah,
to
that's
make
what I
a
thought you
decision?
said, that there was a committee to manage and distribute.
So I do think that the committee has been given the authority. I don't know the
But they,
process.
but the
yet.
selectmen must certainly have the final say on it. My thought was, would it be worth, I mean, because this is a really big issue, and obviously you understand these things because you see them all the time. Would it be worth asking for a joint meeting of our board and the ARPA committee to express the concern that you have about affordable housing, and maybe ask Shopsy if they want to be part of it too, and see if there's anything that could be done with that? I mean, at least we could try.
Yes, I would almost want to meet with Shopsy and let them take the lead on it, since they are spearheading this effort and devoting so much time and resources and energy into this already, that I don't want to go
Like
around
gangbusters
them.
on them, right? But if you were saying also that you were seeing it was a mental health problem in
Mhm.
town, and I mean, it would add to their weight too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like we have a chance to put a voice in here
Mhm.
that would maybe make an actual difference in the way the money's allotted. If
Mhm.
Shopsy would like us to publicly support them,
Mhm.
we could.
I'm certainly happy to touch base with them,
Yeah.
just to say, you know, this is one of the things that's on our short list of identified needs,
Yes.
you know, and see see if that's helpful to them. Again, I think I'd love to take the approach of, is this helpful to you? Because they've been championing this work. That's not an easy verb to say. But given the amount of work and effort they've put in, I would want to bolster what they're doing versus go around them.
Yes.
So,
If they would like, say, for instance, for us to do a joint meeting with them or to discuss it, or if our voices could come in to support what they're saying, I think it would be, if it's worth it asking them if that's what they'd like anyway.
I
okay.
agree. I think it would be helpful.
Agreed.
Because this is a situation that kind of falls through the cracks, isn't it? It's a mental health need, but it's really a house.
Well, and it has a lot to do with zoning. I don't know, do we have a housing authority?
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
Yes.
I would presume that zoning and the housing authority and our department and other, I don't know what other, but it seems like a joint effort to provide this kind of opportunity for all people. So
It's also the charge of the Community Preservation Committee that I'm on as well. So,
well,
yeah,
that's-
so it's,
no.
there's probably a number of different groups that this kind of intersects, that it's probably a good idea, Marguerite, to consider consolidating in some way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so.
Good to
It's not
know.
theoretical at this point. It's an actual thing, right? It's an
Right.
actual problem.
An actual need
Yep.
with
an actual need.
consequences, right? And
Yeah.
consequences that can be described tangibly, which is, I think, is a good way to do it, because oftentimes these issues get opposed when you consider affordable housing in a community. So it's good to have well-supported cases for it.
Mhm.
That's a really good thing. And so I wonder if maybe Sarah, you could ask the that, and David, you could ask and see if, what would help bolster their request. Because
Mhm.
I know that some departments in town have huge budgets, and I don't think for this funding that just because you have a huge budget, you should be asking for a huge chunk of this ARPA money or whatever it is. I think it should be according to what you can provide to the community. So areas with huge budgets, are they going to get the biggest piece of this pie? That isn't the way it should work. It should be where it should do the most repairing for the community.
Well, I do know, so the American Rescue Plan Act does highlight specific items in there. And there's a consultant that's been hired to help understand what these funds can be used for and what they can't and how. So not everything will meet the criteria, is my understanding. And I do think, I know mental health is highlighted in the act as something, and this is an extension of that for sure. So yeah, I think I wrote down to connect with SHOPC and CPC on, seeing if we can work collaboratively on bringing this forward to ARPA, or see if, groups are already planning to do that. And if we can be saying the same thing, that might help gain the attention it needs.
Yes, and that your board or your commission or whatever we technically are is fully in support of joining forces with the other departments.
Sounds great. I can do some recon in between this meeting and next then.
Same, same.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Mhm.
Are there any other thoughts on how ARPA funds might be used? We talked about additional clinicians for individual work and group work, workshops, marketing materials, and affordable housing were the things that were brought up.
Those are all good
Mhm.
uses of those funds, when you consider the nature of the pandemic and why there's support for that, I think there's all good ideas, as Beth had suggested.
Right.
Okay. Should we move on to the Ellen Piontek Scholarship? I'm not sure what that is.
Oh.
I missed that somehow.
So I'll give a little history to the Ellen Piontek Scholarship before we talk about it. So Ellen Piontek was the Southborough Youth and Family Services Director, the very first I ever heard of, who was here before Laurie Sugarman Whittier. Hold on one second. One child just came home and now the two are fighting. I might have to move to another room. So Ellen was the first director I ever met. She actually has a private practice in Hopkinton, so I still have contact with her, and she's a lovely individual. When she was the director, one thing that was of super importance to her was community service. She believed that that was really not only helpful for the community, but really effective in developing self-esteem and self-worth for the individual who was participating. And so when she retired from Youth and Family Services, the board at the time created an Ellen Piontek Scholarship. And it's generally been awarded to somebody who has,
Sorry.
that's okay, who has demonstrated excellence in community service and giving back to the community in one way or another. Last year, we adapted the scholarship. So some years we've done 2 scholarships in the amount of 500. Some years we've done 1 in the amount of 1,000. The money comes from Friends of the Southborough Youth Commission. They have already discussed and would like to put forth 1 scholarship for $1,000 this year. And they are totally fine with the Youth Commission board choosing the recipient. One thing that we made a change on last year was that we decided that this could go to a Southborough senior who demonstrated excellence in community service, who was heading to college, somebody that was, or somebody that was going directly into a trade. So there's a number of young people that we are aware of who, college is just not in the cards for them, but who have worked equally as hard to graduate and get their feet under them and head on to a career, which should also be applauded. And so I know the board felt that way last year, and so that change was made so that it could be either or. And so the reason it's on the agenda now is to tell you that Algonquin is asking if we want to participate again this year, and we need to make any updates to the application if there are any changes to be made. So I just wanted to make sure everybody felt comfortable with the way it's written, which is, as I just outlined.
I thought it was pretty effective last time. It just said sort of write an essay about something you've done that's important community service to you, and what do you plan to do with the scholarship if you get it? I mean, it was pretty cut and dry.
I thought we had a lot more participation last year, and I think the number of people that applied were, I think we had like 10 or 12, and I thought we had a very vast selection pool. So I think that the way we wrote it last year, or how it was presented, was far superior to what we had done in the past. So
Yeah, it
agree.
worked out well, I thought. Do they have to get nominated by somebody at the school? Or does
They
the
do.
guidance counselor just suggest to them that how do the kids find out about it?
So I will share that they have made some changes this year on their end at Algonquin. They are taking a completely different approach where they are having a scholarship committee. So I actually had to clarify with them if our scholarship would fit in this new process, but it looks like what they're doing is they have a scholarship committee in the middle who is collecting scholarship opportunities, including ours, from the community or, elsewhere. And then on the other side, they're also trying to collect applications for interested students who are looking for any support. And then the committee is sort of playing this middleman role of matching highest level of need to appropriate scholarship opportunities, which I think is a nice approach because not all kids were aware of what scholarships were available, and we had a small number who were kind of applying across the board to all of them. And so the number of recipients were on the smaller side. And so I think the goal of this committee is to really match highest level of need to the most helpful of scholarships. I did tell them that our board typically chooses the recipient, and that we would love to continue doing that. I hope I didn't speak out of turn. If you want it, it's not too late to say no to that. Otherwise, it would be a committee of other people choosing. And I did also say to them, because they're asking for financial aid documents and things like that. And I said, we don't want to be combing through any of that stuff. And we also want to maintain that this doesn't have to be for somebody who's college bound. So I hope that everybody still feels.
Definitely.
So are there any other, I just pulled up the application itself just to see if there was anything else I wanted to mention. We asked them about what their plans are following graduation, community service experience. They can upload a resume if they want to. And then we asked them to write an essay. And the essay is, of the community services you have performed, please describe the activity that was most meaningful to you. We are interested not only in knowing what you did, but also what you felt you were able to get out of your participation in that particular activity. How do you see your experience with community service in the future continuing? I can always adjust what we're asking for the essay if anybody has input they want to give on that.
I think it's sort of perfect.
Mhm. I agree.
Okay,
Agreed.
well, I'll
If
update
if it's not broke, Sarah, just change the date on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll update the date that people need to submit it by, and so I should have, for the next board meeting, what we usually do, just because these are all Southborough youth, is we redact all of the identifying information so that all you as board members can see is the essay, the information about community service, etc., and that you're picking the recipient based on that information. So I think, so Algonquin's going to handle collecting, this is where it is a little different. I think Algonquin is going to handle collecting all of the applications to the scholarship and will hand them over to us. So I think by the time we meet in March, I will have, ahead of time, I'll have all of that stuff for you guys to review so that you can come to the meeting and vote on who you want to be the recipient.
Was there
Awesome.
one last year?
Yes.
Okay. Because the year before that, there were 3, right?
I think we've only ever had 1 or 2.
1 or 2. Okay,
Yeah.
there it was. Okay.
Now I do remember this. I came on just as this was happening last
Wow.
year. That's It's a great program.
It is. Their essays were fun to read, you know?
Mhm. I
All
remember that
over,
now.
all over the place.
Okay,
Lauren,
yes.
I'm gonna try to log in on my phone so I can talk without, freezing up. So we'll see if it works. I'm gonna mute and then you can let me in on with my phone so I can talk. We can talk about what we wanted to talk about.
That sounds good.
You know.
I will look for you on.
I thought I heard a bird in the background.
That would be me. Back there.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yes, I have two
Hey,
pairs.
Beth, it looks like you're on the phone. But I can still see you.
Your phone is muted though, Beth.
Okay.
I think you're gonna have to hang up your other one. You're set on the phone.
So how do I do?
Now we have cats meowing.
That's mine. Would love to see the parakeets.
Come over and visit.
Okay. Is that better?
Beth, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
I was hoping to so I could see everyone, but I guess I can't do that. So,
Well, we hear you great.
We hear
Okay,
you
good.
very much.
okay.
So next on the agenda, we have strengthening the Youth Commission as part of the strategic plan. And the first discussion as part of that is concerning the information that's on the town website or lack thereof. And Beth, do you want to talk about that?
So it came to my attention that we are the only board on the town website under board and committees information center on that page on the town website that doesn't have a description about what we do. So we need to rectify that. I did call Mr. Hegarty to ask him how we go about doing that. And he said we can just write something and submit it to him. I tried to get a little more information from him, but he had to research it and hasn't gotten back to me yet. My question was, when did the Youth Commission start and what was it initially charged with? So I'm waiting to hear back from him for that information. But I was wondering if anyone had an opportunity to look at any of the other boards write-ups and maybe have comments about it.
Beth, one comment that I had is it's not on the other boards write-ups, but I noticed on one of the other boards write-ups, they had a link to their section under the government laws for Massachusetts. So I typed in Youth Commission in that section, and under 8E, there's a write-up of what the Youth Commission establishment powers and duties for the state of Massachusetts or Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So that's something that we could, it's a long paragraph. It's something that we could use to assist in writing our section.
Yes, that's awesome. Can you read it? It's long or short, or should we read it
Is it
ourselves?
okay for me to read it?
Yeah, please, that'd be great.
Okay,
I don't
it's
know
not
if
a,
Ken- Yeah.
that's why I didn't know. It's on a public website. Or I
we
can share
pull-
it.
Can we pull up the website and screen share?
I
It's
have
just
that
not
right
part of
here.
it's not part of the meeting packet, so, okay. that works.
Is this okay?
Beth, I know you can't
No,
see it.
It's tiny, tiny on my phone, but I can look at
Um,
it afterwards.
Well, I
Okay.
was just looking at it and it seems like it would be overly general for our purposes.
It is.
I think we just need 2 paragraphs of saying what we do. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it seems like it's sort of charged with it seems like it's kind of legalese. And
That's kind
I
of what I felt. I did look at other boards and committees.
Right.
And I found that some of them just presented the code that supports their charge. And I didn't find it very helpful at all. We could include a link perhaps so that if people wanted
Well,
to
see
see.
that what I think with this is the point of it is so that A, people in town know what it is, but B, other people in town who may be interested in being on the youth commission would say, oh, that's what they do. So our
Mhm.
audience is to attract other people who might be interested in doing it, as well as to say, you know, what the youth commission is doing to support youth and family services. So I think the simpler and the clearer and the shorter, the better, right?
Yep.
Because nobody wants to read a whole wall of words. I
That
mean,
is true.
Nobody
some-
wants to read 3,000 words on what the youth commission.
Yeah,
does,
and
right?
some of them are very lengthy, and I think the ones that are shorter are probably more read.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like when we did the library one, it was 5 bullet points. We give the director feedback on the budget. We give the director feedback on programming. We support we advocate for the library, and there were 2 others. I can't remember what they are, but they were just like 5 sentences. It was very, very simple.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like we didn't even use the mission statement or anything like that, because that gets kind of airy-fairy sometimes,
Mhm.
you know, to improve the quality of yada yada. So it was more like just this is what we do on the board. We look at the budget and we give you feedback on the budget, right? And we support the youth commission and we support you in your programs and what else do we do? We help fundraise, sort of.
I'm not
Can I
sure that
just-
we do that.
No, we don't.
That would
we
be a
don't do
friends.
fundraising.
Yeah.
Okay, the funds friend-rise. Okay, so what do? We
So feedback
Can
on the
I
budget.
Can I just add that I think this
Yeah.
is a nice opportunity to add what you'd like to do.
Mhm.
So I see this as part of a larger discussion, as Lauren started by saying that one of the goals in the strategic plan is strengthen the youth commission. And I think that there's been some fantastic steps in that direction. For example, you know, we wrote you guys wrote some job descriptions. There was also a change when there was a vacancy. We did not just say, does anyone have a friend who's not doing anything the first Tuesday of the month? We did a more strategic, you know, this is how we got the wonderful Mr. Joyner with us, was that we were more strategic in trying to recruit a specific skill set and background. That was another example. So I would say that in addition to what do you already do, but what do you want to do as a board would be something that this is part of that conversation too. Just my 2 cents.
Mhm.
And particularly if you want to use it as an enticement to get other folks to join the committee or the commission, I think including some aspirational things in there as well, and really touting some of the great work that the commission is doing, I think people would be more likely to want to buy in and join.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, that's great, Sarah. So we should think of things and then put them all together and talk about them.
Yeah, I really saw this as just the beginning of the discussion because, you know, it's going to be a permanent thing, although I guess you could edit it at any time, but, you know, maybe next month we could all come back with some thoughts and then perhaps select a couple of people to take those thoughts and put them into paragraphs. That's just an idea.
I
don't
think that
know.
sounds terrific.
Yeah, and good for you for noticing, Beth.
Yeah, Beth, really.
Agreed.
Okay, we will come back next month and revisit that one.
Should we
Um,
agree to come up with, maybe we each come up with 3 or 4 different points or things that we see the board, some of our goals being, as an organization. And I also have to say, I do think it's important to put some kind of mission statement there. It doesn't have to be a long-winded thing, but I do think it's important that if you're just new to town and you're looking at the different departments or whatever, you're like, what the heck do these people do? I do think it's important to have a mission statement. I don't know, do we put it for your organization or for us, you
No,
know?
No,
for
it's for
us.
us.
For
It's
us,
for us.
yeah.
Yep,
For
yep.
us.
That's the hard thing because you have something for your department, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a mission
right.
statement.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think maybe 3 or 4 points of the, things that we see as our goals and torches to carry. I think that would be really great to convene on that. So,
Yeah. So
I'd
like,
also love, oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say tonight we decided about the scholarship.
Mhm.
So that's kind of, is that advocating for the mission of Youth and Family Services or something? But we do that every year.
Mhm.
So that's part of, I don't know what category that would
Yeah,
be
how
in.
do you put that into words?
It's almost
Generally speaking.
community
Outreach,
outreach again, almost.
outreach,
Yeah.
outreach.
I was just gonna make the added recommendation too, if it's helpful in any way. There are several other youth and family service departments around this area who also have youth commission boards. We all have a youth commission board. And if you want to check out what other youth commission boards have, I don't know if they have anything, but just in case is another resource.
That's
Because sometimes language evades me at
Yep.
times, and so I love to, I don't want to recreate the wheel if I don't have to. I go to their websites and say, how did they describe this? And
Yeah, that's what we
I
do.
just
Great
copy
idea.
it.
They probably
Makes
cribbed it from
sense.
somebody else anyway.
Mhm. Yeah, right.
So it sounds like a plan. We'll
Sounds
all,
like a plan.
we'll all mull it over and come up with a couple of different points. And then next time we can see what we had in common, or if somebody.
Should we email each other this stuff
We-
too, or
I don't
no?
think
No,
we
that's
can.
deliberation.
Okay,
No, no.
never mind.
We'd all
We
have
can-
to go to jail if we did that.
Okay.
All right. So next is the joint meeting recap that we had with the capital planning space study presentation. If anyone had any thoughts that you want to discuss now, I think the timeline for bringing new thoughts to them is over, but just an opportunity to share our thoughts here. And this, they made a point several times that this is just phase 0 of the study. It's the very preliminary report and discussion, and that there'll be much time in the time to come for lots of questions and answers.
So the one thought I had about that was, well, a couple of things, but mainly confidentiality, with the seniors also using the back. I don't see it as being as private as it is now where we're located now. So, and also then parking where they said 36 spots would be in the back, but we could potentially take 10 of those, if we had interns and everybody was seeing someone, so those were 2 things that I thought of. I don't know how Sarah felt about the confidentiality part, if it met her criteria.
Well,
I'm of two minds when it comes to confidentiality. Of course, I want people to have privacy, and then we're a HIPAA compliant department. At the same time, I really would love to normalize mental health services to the same extent that people go get their flu shot with the Board of Health.
Mhm.
So it's a balance, you know, I want to be able to meet the needs of people who want a lot of privacy, and also encourage people to
Feel like they're going to the dentist.
yeah, to be okay with it and be open.
Yeah.
And so I do know that we would be getting our own private entrance. There is an entrance in the back that's going to be made that would go directly into our office suite that no one else would be using. There is going to be a second entrance in the back that the senior center would have, but that's not the same entrance. So I think they'd actually have to create a new entrance for us, which would be great. So it kind of feels to me like a nice middle ground. It has been very private being over at South Union, but almost creates an increased level of shame for some people.
Yeah.
You know, to have this like really tucked away building that, you know, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, not nowhere. A lot of really fantastic families live in that neighborhood, but you know, it just doesn't, you don't expect to find us there, and we're, you know, kind of hidden away. We're on an own little island. I love the idea of being surrounded by other departments, but still maintaining privacy, you know, still having private offices and a contained office suite with our own entrance. But it does kind of help to normalize the services, which I think is great. I do share some concerns about parking, but I do think, you know, one of the comments that was made the evening of the presentation was that feels like a policy that could be implemented much further down the line. You know, so maybe we have reserved parking spots, and I think we're likely to be able to figure that out. I feel really hopeful that we can, but I think it's important. You know, the senior center already raised the concern about parking back there, so I didn't also bring it up because I think it's something that's already on their radar. So,
And it seems that even if someone were to park in the front and walk in, if I were to walk in, I don't think anyone would know which office that I was going to visit.
nope.
Anecdote, I was talking about this with somebody and she said if she needed counseling services, she would never go there in a million years because she would see somebody that she knew. So ideally, in an ideal world, it would be treated as a medical condition, but in actual fact, she at least was not there yet. So,
And that's true for many people.
yeah,
So that's why it's nice that we do have a private entrance in the back,
yeah,
that you don't have to bump into anybody to come into our office suite.
right.
Or you can come through the front. You can stop at recreation, make a payment for your son's soccer
And just keep
program,
going.
and then keep on going and head to your therapy appointment.
Yeah.
You know, that there's so many different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I know. Is there anybody in town who couldn't use a couple of therapy hours right now?
No.
No.
I'm not raising my own hand, so. Can we use ARPA funds to get therapy for the therapists?
Just because you have to take it all in, you know?
All right, any other comments on the space planning study? I mean, there's lots to think about, and some of it's just going to be puzzle pieces that they move around, and then we get to a next level for more questions on a next level.
But we do definitely need space, that's for sure.
Is there a timeline for this?
My understanding is this is preliminary to see if it's even possible or to see what's possible, but that all of this is contingent on a new school being built. That's my understanding. Hopefully I'm characterizing that correctly. So they're looking at building a new NERI, and none of these other pieces can fall into place unless that moves forward, unless and when that moves forward.
Oh, and also it has to go to town meeting. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's two-part, the getting money for the new school and also passing at town meeting.
And then building the school.
Yes.
It sounds like something that could be 3 years out.
Oh,
I-
more than
yeah.
that.
At least, yeah.
Because a lot of times a new school will flunk town meeting the first two
Mhm.
times, yeah.
Okay. And then last on our agenda is interface referral services, and we have a couple of updates. There were in the information packet, there were 2 reports from Interface on different time frames. Sarah, can you comment?
Yes, so first I just wanted to share an update. Some of you, it sounds like, are already aware, and let this be a reflection of the times. So we received, I'm telling you about this now instead of waiting till next month, but it happened within the month of February. We received a communication from Interface that due to the extremely high volume, so I feel like every time I've heard from them, they keep saying things like, we've never had a higher volume. And then somehow the next time I hear from them, they're like, just kidding about that last time. We now really have an even higher volume. And so now what we,
Yikes.
the cat's already been on the TV, honey. He wants to show everybody the cat. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So the volume has been so high that they actually have to put a temporary pause on any new intakes. And this is not just for Southborough, this is for every community they serve, because they have not been able to adequately respond to the number of people that have been calling in for mental health therapy services. Just as a reminder, Interface is a call center. So residents from subscribing communities call into Interface. They tell them their search criteria, including what type of insurance they have, you know, the type of therapy they're looking for, time of day, etc. And Interface assists them with finding an opening, and that's all they do. So they have had so many people just trying to find therapy that they haven't been able to keep up and haven't been able to appropriately and adequately respond to the number of people who have already called. So they've had to put a pause on any new intakes to be able to catch up on responding. So that pause is in effect until February 22nd. So 22nd is when all of the call helplines go live again. So if a resident calls right now, they get a recording that they can't take anybody else on. And of course, you know, we had mixed emotions when we heard that. Some was of frustration, saying, you know, we're paying for this contract, and you know, there should be some sort of credit. And at the same time, Interface cannot create things where they don't exist. And they, you know, they're not magicians. They have no, they can't create more therapists. They can't create openings. I know they're doing their best. And I know they're also dealing with an incredibly high volume. We feel that in our own department. So, so while I feel some level of disappointment that this is the way it is, I'm also incredibly thankful that we have Interface, because I just say to myself all the time, imagine if we didn't, you know, I really don't know how we would be navigating.
I mean,
So
that says so much, though. That says
Yeah.
so much that, you know, that they've had to put a pause on it, and definitely talk to people whose practices are all closed right now. They can't do it. So
Yeah.
it should make people more aware of what you guys have going on too, as a department.
It's not necessarily Interface. It's not a staffing issue for them. It's the dearth of therapists.
Right,
It's a
right.
desert out there. You know, I read in the reports, they've added, you know, people to their call banks, their intake, blah, blah, blah. If you can't place these people, I know that wait lists for, you know, advocates and other mental health support and resources in our community are flat out. There's nothing. There's no psych beds. It's really, really, really a very difficult, challenging thing. So I don't attribute this to a lack of business know-how on Interface's part. It's just a very bad situation. So
yeah, I appreciate you all helping me characterize that for people, for anybody who's watching, because I think that without having that knowledge about what the landscape looks like right now, it's hard to understand that this is not a reflection of Interface, that it's, you know, the mental health system right now, just the level of need.
Right.
So I expect, you know, it may be pretty consistent with what we've already been seeing, but, you know, we are kind of stepping up a little bit more to see more people than we may have had to previously, because there's, you know, a little bit more anxiety coming from people now that there's not wheels are not able to be in motion for them. We're not working on a solution. They have to kind of push pause. So I'm expecting that we're going to be a little busier in this month. Hopefully Interface is not going to need to keep doing this. That would be unfortunate. But anyway, I just wanted to share that, and
It's good you did. It's very good you did.
Sarah,
yeah.
sometimes when I'm driving and I'm listening to NPR, there's an organization that works just like Interface, but it has a different name, and they're advertising.
It's probably BetterHelp. It's
Something like that. And then there was another one too. And I wonder, are they totally jammed up, or would they be an alternative reference? At least, you know, when people are, you know, they've hit the wall and they can't get anybody to talk to, would it do any good to check out one of those other referral services, for at least to send people to them? I don't know.
A lot of those places are full also. There's actually, I hope, sorry, I was trying to, a lot of distractions over here in the Castle household. I'm sorry. I think what I heard you say was, can we refer people to online mental health support services? Is that right?
Well, there's a couple that are advertising on WBUR, for instance.
Yeah. So I do think that those are already being utilized. You know, we are, with regard to Interface, it is more local options. Certainly people have, you know, the option of going to a more like a national organization, which I think BetterHelp is, or something like that. So that is an option for some people, depending on, you know, what their needs are. For a lot of folks, they need somebody local, and a lot of providers since the beginning of the pandemic have switched over to exclusively online. Even though they're local, they've gotten rid of their office spaces. So that's another challenge that people are facing, is that you know, they really need to be seen in person because you can't fully assess somebody's well-being when you're meeting with them over a screen. So,
A lot of
Um,
them are not taking insurance anymore either.
Right,
So
that's true.
It's a big expense for a lot of people. So to get all the pieces and it's overwhelming. And if you're in crisis, it's very challenging. So thank God for our department to be there for those people.
Shannon did mention in the context of our last staff meeting, though, when we brought up ARPA funds for a clinician, she said, do you think you're gonna find anybody?
Yeah.
And that's a real possibility, you know, that we need to consider. So that's just something I share with you all too, that even if we were to get that support, we might be challenged to find somebody who is available and an appropriate fit. So,
Yeah.
but
Thanks.
we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it.
Okay.
And then the only other thing that's in the interface section of the agenda that I just wanted to share was those 2 reports that Lauren had mentioned. So I had shared with you guys the report from the first half of the year, and I had received the report from the second half of the year right before the winter break. And then it fell off of my radar, and I realized very recently that I never shared it with you. So I wanted to do that. So you can see overall, I think it was 74 referrals that we had from Southborough for the year. It looks like December is not included though. They sent us the report in December, so we don't have data for January because our helpline did not go live until February 1st. And then we don't have data for December. So we've got 74 referrals for 10 months, which is for a town of our size, a pretty good number, and consistent with what they're seeing from other communities. So, so I just wanted to share that with you guys too, to see if you had any thoughts, questions.
They've been wonderful. I mean, aside from being totally messed up right now, but they've been a godsend.
Yes, very, very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it's been clear, not to you all. I think you all get it, but in some cases I've had some feedback. Well, does this mean that you can reassign some of your staff? Or in actuality, it doesn't replace anything we've been doing. It only creates a vehicle so that we're not working with the same 20 people for years and years, that we can actually see more people and serve more residents because we have a vehicle or a mechanism to move people on to something that's a good fit for them, whereas we couldn't do that before. So it's really enhanced our ability to serve the community, which has been great. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, that was all of our business for today. If I could go ahead and have a motion for adjournment.
Okay, I move that we adjourn. It's 8:32.
I second that.
So Susan Byer, I know
Aye.
you just seconded. Sue Butka,
Aye.
Beth Dombacher,
Aye.
David Joyner,
Aye.
Marguerite Landry,
Aye.
Sarah Micus,
Hi.
and Lauren Ritchie. Aye. Good meeting. Thank you, everyone.
It was great to
Yeah,
see
great
everybody.
meeting. Happy
Yeah, take
Valentine's
care.
Day, everybody.
Oh, happy
Pleasure.
Valentine's Day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night,
Bye.
everybody.